As you rest peacefully tonight, imagine that beneath the familiar surface of the ocean, beneath the sunlit waves where dolphins play and coral reefs bloom, there exists a realm of such extreme depth and pressure that it remained completely unexplored until recent decades. A world more alien than the surface of Mars, yet existing right here on Earth, closer to you than the International Space Station orbiting overhead. The deepest places on our planet are not mountain peaks or desert valleys, but oceanic trenches, long, narrow depressions in the ocean floor, where tectonic plates collide, and one is forced beneath the other in a process called subduction. These trenches plunge to depths that dwarf the height of Mount Everest, creating underwater canyons where the pressure reaches over 1,000 times atmospheric pressure at sea level, where darkness is absolute and eternal, where temperatures hover just above freezing, and where, against all expectations, life has found ways to thrive. The Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean contains the deepest known point on Earth's surface, Challenger Deep, which reaches nearly 7 miles below sea level, deeper than Everest is tall. If you could place Mount Everest at the bottom of Challenger Deep, its peak would still be covered by over a mile of water. This incomprehensible depth represents a journey into one of the most extreme environments on our planet, a place that fewer humans have visited than have walked on the moon. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you'll descend through these oceanic layers into the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek underworld, discovering a world that challenges our assumptions about where life can exist and what forms it might take. You'll explore how crushing pressure shapes strange adaptations, how life finds energy in complete darkness, how the deepest trenches connect to Earth's dynamic geology, and how exploring these abyssal realms teaches us about the limits and possibilities of biology on our own world, and potentially on ocean worlds throughout the solar system. The journey into deep trenches begins at the ocean surface, where sunlight penetrates and photosynthesis powers abundant marine life. As you descend, light fades rapidly. By 200 meters depth, you enter the twilight zone, where only dim blue light remains. At 1,000 meters, you cross into the midnight zone, where eternal darkness begins, where bioluminescent creatures create their own light in patterns that rival the stars above the surface. But the midnight zone represents only the beginning of your descent. Below 4,000 meters lies the abyssal zone, where pressure becomes intense enough to crush most submarines, where temperatures remain just a few degrees above freezing year-round, where the slow rain of organic particles from surface waters, called marine snow, provides the primary food source for creatures adapted to perpetual darkness and crushing pressure. Deeper still, below 6,000 meters, you enter the Hadal Zone, the realm of trenches, where only specialized equipment can survive the pressure and only the most remarkably adapted organisms can live. Here, in depths that exceed 6 miles, you discover that Earth still harbors mysteries, that entire ecosystems exist in conditions that would instantly kill most surface life, that the planet continues to surprise us with the resilience and creativity of biology, even in the most extreme circumstances imaginable. The pressure at these depths defies easy comprehension. At the bottom of Challenger Deep, each square inch experiences pressure equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of it. This pressure would crush human bones, collapse lungs instantly, and compress any air-filled space to a tiny fraction of its surface volume. Yet organisms live here. their bodies adapted to withstand pressures that would destroy most forms of life. The water itself behaves differently under such extreme pressure. While it doesn't compress much, water being relatively incompressible, its properties change subtly. Chemical reactions occur differently, proteins fold into different shapes, and life must adapt to these altered conditions to survive in the Hadal realm. As you prepare to descend into the abyss tonight, rest in the knowledge that you are about to explore some of the last unmapped territories on Earth, places that remained complete mysteries until the last few decades, realms that reveal our planet's continuing capacity to surprise and inspire wonder. The deep ocean trenches represent not just geological features, but doorways into understanding how life adapts to extremes, how Earth's interior processes shape the surface, and how much we still have to discover about our own planet. Sleep now as you begin your descent, sinking slowly through layers of increasing pressure and deepening darkness, journeying toward the bottom of the world, where strange creatures move through eternal night, where the very plates that form Earth's crust collide in slow-motion drama, where life persists in conditions that seem impossible, proving that biology is far more resilient and adaptable than we ever imagined. The architecture of the abyss, how trenches form and shape our world. Descend now through the water column to understand the powerful geological forces that create ocean trenches, where the slow dance of tectonic plates builds some of Earth's most dramatic features and drives processes that have shaped our planet for billions of years. Ocean trenches form at subduction zones, places where two tectonic plates meet and one, typically the denser oceanic plate, plunges beneath the other into Earth's mantle. This process occurs slowly by human standards, perhaps a few inches per year, but over millions of years it creates the deepest depressions on Earth's surface, while recycling oceanic crust back into the planet's interior in a geological cycle that has been operating since plate tectonics began. The Mariana Trench, Earth's deepest, formed where the Pacific Plate subducts beneath the Philippine Sea Plate. As the Pacific Plate bends downward into the mantle, it creates a depression that has deepened over millions of years, forming a curved trench, roughly 1,500 miles long, but relatively narrow, typically only 40 miles wide. This geometry creates a dramatic underwater landscape more extreme than any canyon on land. The Peru-Chile Trench along South America's western coast extends over 3,700 miles, making it one of the longest trenches on Earth. Here, the oceanic Nazca Plate subducts beneath the continental South American Plate, a process that not only creates the deep trench, but also builds the Andes Mountains through volcanic activity and crustal compression. The trench and the mountains represent two sides of the same geological process, subduction, that simultaneously creates Earth's deepest depressions and its highest peaks. The Japan Trench, where the Pacific Plate subducts beneath the North American Plate, reaches depths exceeding 27,000 feet and extends for over 500 miles parallel to the Japanese archipelago. This trench represents an active subduction zone that generates powerful earthquakes, including the catastrophic 2011 Tohoku earthquake that triggered devastating tsunamis and reminded humanity of the awesome geological forces that shape our planet. As oceanic crust descends into trenches, it carries with it water trapped in sediments and within the rock itself. This water, released at depth as the descending plate heats up, plays a crucial role in generating the magma that feeds volcanic arcs, chains of volcanoes that typically form parallel to trenches on the overriding plate. The Ring of Fire surrounding the Pacific Ocean, with its numerous volcanoes and frequent earthquakes, marks the locations of subduction zones and their associated trenches. The walls of ocean trenches slope at angles typically ranging from 4 to 16 degrees, relatively gentle by mountain standards, but dramatic when extended over vertical distances of several miles. These slopes represent some of the largest continuous relief features on Earth, with vertical elevation changes exceeding 30,000 feet from the surrounding seafloor to the trench bottom. Sediments accumulate slowly in trench bottoms, creating relatively flat abyssal plains despite the extreme depths. These sediments, primarily clay particles and the remains of microscopic marine organisms that have settled from surface waters over millions of years, build layers that preserve geological history, recording past climate changes, volcanic eruptions, and biological events in their stratified deposits. The subduction process operating at trenches represents a crucial component of Earth's plate tectonic cycle. Oceanic crust created at mid-ocean ridges spreads across the seafloor, gradually cooling and becoming denser over tens of millions of years, until it eventually reaches a subduction zone, where it plunges back into the mantle. This recycling of oceanic crust prevents Earth's surface from continuously expanding and plays an essential role in regulating the planet's long-term climate by controlling carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Some trenches show evidence of accretionary wedges, accumulations of sediment scraped off the descending plate and added to the overriding plate. These wedges build over millions of years, sometimes forming new land masses or adding to existing continental margins. Much of the Pacific Northwest coast of North America consists of ancient accretionary wedge material that has been uplifted and exposed above sea level. The deepest parts of trenches often contain small, even deeper depressions called deeps, isolated basins within the trench that represent the absolute deepest points. Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, Brownson Deep in the Puerto Rico Trench, and Horizon Deep in the Tonga Trench represent these maximum depth locations where the seafloor reaches its lowest elevations on Earth. Recent mapping efforts using multi-beam sonar have revealed that trench topography is far more complex than previously imagined. Rather than simple V-shaped depressions, trenches contain terraces, fault scarps, ridges, and irregular features created by complex interactions between the descending and overriding plates, by sediment transport, and by occasional massive underwater landslides that reshape trench walls. As you rest at these impossible depths in your imagination, feel yourself at the boundary between Earth's crust and mantle, where rock slowly but inexorably descends into the planet's interior, where geological forces that have operated for billions of years continue their work of reshaping the seafloor, where the very architecture of the ocean basins reveals the dynamic nature of our planet's surface. Rest in the understanding that ocean trenches are not static features, but active zones of geological transformation, places where Earth's tectonic system operates most dramatically, where the planet demonstrates its continuing evolution, where processes that have shaped continents and ocean basins throughout geological time continue their patient work of building and destroying, creating and recycling, in the eternal geological cycle that maintains Earth as a dynamic, living world. Life under pressure, the remarkable creatures of the deep. Discover now the extraordinary organisms that call the Hadal Zone home, creatures so remarkably adapted to crushing pressure, eternal darkness, and scarce food that they challenge our understanding of biology's limits and reveal life's stunning capacity to thrive in conditions that seem utterly impossible for survival. The pressure at the bottom of the deepest trenches would instantly kill most surface organisms, yet specialized fish, amphipods, sea cucumbers, and microbial communities flourish here. These organisms possess adaptations so profound that they represent some of the most extreme examples of evolutionary specialization found anywhere on Earth. Snailfish, discovered living at depths exceeding 26,000 feet in the Mariana Trench, represent the deepest living fish ever recorded. These gelatinous, somewhat translucent creatures lack swim bladders, gas-filled organs that would be crushed by pressure at these depths. Instead, their bodies contain high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide, TMAO, an organic compound that counteracts the protein-disrupting effects of extreme pressure, allowing their cells to function normally in conditions that would denature the proteins of most organisms. Amphipods, shrimp-like crustaceans that swarm across trench bottoms, grow to remarkable sizes at hadal depths, with some species reaching over a foot in length, far larger than their shallow water relatives. These supergiant amphipods scavenge on the organic matter that settles to the trench floor, sometimes gathering in large numbers around food falls, the carcasses of large animals like whales that occasionally sink to the bottom, providing concentrated nutrition in an otherwise food-scarce environment. Sea cucumbers at hadal depths move slowly across the sediment, processing it for organic particles and leaving characteristic feeding trails visible in photographs of the trench floor. Some species appear almost ghost-like, with translucent bodies and delicate tentacles that sift through sediment searching for edible material. These creatures represent some of the deepest living animals on Earth, thriving at depths where pressure would crush most life forms. Microbial life dominates the Hadal Zone, with bacteria and archaea adapted to extreme pressure flourishing in trench sediments and water. Some of these microorganisms are piezophiles, organisms that not only tolerate high pressure, but actually require it for optimal growth. When brought to the surface, these microbes cannot survive at normal atmospheric pressure, demonstrating that they are as adapted to their high-pressure environment as surface organisms are to conditions at sea level. The hadal trenches harbor unique microbial communities that play crucial roles in processing organic matter and cycling nutrients in these deep environments. Some bacteria break down complex organic molecules that settle from above, while others participate in chemosynthetic processes, deriving energy from chemical reactions rather than sunlight, creating food webs that operate independently of photosynthesis. Surprisingly, recent research has discovered that hadal trenches contain higher concentrations of microbial life than the surrounding abyssal plains, despite the extreme pressure and apparent scarcity of food. The trenches act as funnels, concentrating organic matter that settles from above and slides down the steep walls, creating localized areas of relatively abundant nutrition that support more diverse communities than would be expected at such depths. The adaptations required for life under extreme pressure extend to the molecular level. Proteins in hadal organisms often have unusual amino acid sequences that make them more flexible and resistant to pressure-induced deformation. Cell membranes contain high proportions of unsaturated fatty acids that remain fluid under pressure conditions that would solidify the membranes of surface organisms. DNA repair mechanisms work overtime to fix damage caused by the extreme environment. Bioluminescence appears even in the deepest trenches, with some organisms producing light despite the absence of eyes to see it. This light production might serve purposes other than vision, perhaps communication through chemical means, or defense mechanisms against predators, or side effects of biochemical processes adapted to function under extreme pressure. The discovery of diverse life at Hadal depths has profound implications for our understanding of where life can exist. If organisms can thrive under the crushing pressure of Earth's deepest trenches, then similar life might exist in the high-pressure environments of subsurface oceans on Europa, Enceladus, or other ocean worlds in our solar system. The Hadal Zone serves as a natural laboratory for studying life under extreme conditions that might be common elsewhere in the universe. Food webs in the Hadal Zone differ fundamentally from those in sunlit surface waters. With no photosynthesis possible in eternal darkness, all energy ultimately derives from organic matter produced in surface waters and transported to depth, or from chemosynthetic bacteria that derive energy from chemical reactions involving compounds like hydrogen sulfide or methane seeping from the seafloor. The scarcity of food at Hadal depths has driven remarkable adaptations for finding and consuming whatever nutrition becomes available. Some fish have enormous mouths relative to their body size, allowing them to consume prey nearly as large as themselves. Others have developed extreme patience, waiting motionless for long periods to conserve energy until food appears. Recent expeditions have discovered that even at the deepest points, plastic pollution from human activity has reached these remote environments. Microplastics have been found in the digestive systems of amphipods collected from Challenger Deep, revealing that human impacts extend even to Earth's most isolated and extreme habitats. As you rest peacefully tonight, imagine these remarkable creatures moving through eternal darkness under pressure that would instantly kill you, yet thriving in their element, adapted through millions of years of evolution to call the Hadal Zone home. They remind us that life is far more resilient than we often imagine, that biology finds ways to exist in every available niche, and that Earth continues to harbor undiscovered organisms in its most extreme and unexplored environments. The acoustic world without light. Journey now through the soundscape of the deep ocean, where darkness renders vision useless but sound travels far through water, creating an acoustic world where whales sing songs that echo across ocean basins, where tectonic activity creates rumbles and groans, and where the deep trenches serve as acoustic channels that guide sound waves across vast distances. Sound behaves remarkably differently in water than in air. It travels nearly 5 times faster through seawater, roughly 3,300 miles per hour, compared to 760 miles per hour in air. And it travels much farther before dissipating, allowing acoustic signals to cross entire ocean basins. This makes sound the primary long-distance communication channel in the ocean, especially in the lightless depths where visual signals are useless. The deep sound channel, also called the SOFAR channel, sound fixing and ranging, occurs at depths around 3,000 to 4,000 feet, where water temperature and pressure create conditions that trap sound waves, allowing them to travel for thousands of miles with minimal energy loss. Whale songs captured in this channel can theoretically be heard by other whales across entire oceans, creating a global acoustic network for marine mammal communication. Whales, dolphins, and other marine mammals use echolocation, biological sonar, to navigate and hunt in dark waters, emitting clicks and listening for echoes that reveal the location size, and shape of objects around them. Sperm whales diving to depths exceeding 6,000 feet produce the loudest sounds made by any animal. Powerful clicks that can stun or even kill prey through acoustic trauma. The trenches themselves generate sounds through geological processes. Earthquakes along subduction zones produce acoustic signals that propagate through the water column and the seafloor. The grinding and scraping of tectonic plates creates low-frequency rumbles. Underwater landslides trigger acoustic events that can be detected by hydrophones thousands of miles away. Hydrothermal vents and cold seeps, places where heated water or hydrocarbons emerge from the seafloor, create distinctive acoustic signatures from the turbulence of fluids escaping into the water column. Scientists use these sounds to locate vents and seeps, guiding research vessels and submersibles to potentially interesting locations for biological and geological study. Marine snow falling through the water column creates a subtle acoustic signature, the collective sound of billions of organic particles settling toward the seafloor. A gentle rain that can be detected by sensitive hydrophones. This sound of sediment provides information about the transfer of organic matter from surface waters to the deep ocean, helping scientists understand the biological pump that moves carbon from the atmosphere into deep ocean storage. The breaking up of icebergs in polar regions creates powerful acoustic signals that propagate across ocean basins, with sound from Antarctic ice calving events detectable in the North Atlantic. These acoustic signatures help scientists monitor ice sheet stability and climate change impacts on polar regions without requiring continuous visual observation. Underwater volcanoes and hydrothermal explosions generate intense acoustic events that can be detected globally. The 1991 eruption of an underwater volcano in the South Pacific was heard by hydrophone arrays throughout the world's oceans, demonstrating the acoustic transparency of water and the connectivity of ocean basins through sound propagation. Military and scientific hydrophone networks, originally installed to track submarines, have become valuable tools for monitoring ocean acoustics, detecting whale populations, tracking earthquake activity, and studying ocean circulation patterns. These arrays reveal that the ocean is far noisier than once imagined, filled with biological, geological, and oceanographic sounds that create a rich acoustic environment. Human activities have dramatically increased ocean noise levels, especially in shipping lanes, where the constant rumble of ship propellers creates chronic background noise that may interfere with marine mammal communication and navigation. The impact of this acoustic pollution on deep-sea ecosystems remains incompletely understood, but evidence suggests that noise can affect behavior, stress levels, and reproductive success in marine species. Bioluminescent organisms in the deep ocean create not just light, but also sound in some cases. The snapping shrimp, found at depths up to several thousand feet, produces one of the loudest sounds per body size of any animal, generating a cavitation bubble that collapses with a pop loud enough to stun small fish. While most snapping shrimp inhabit shallower waters, related species exist at considerable depths, adding their acoustic signatures to the deep ocean soundscape. The sound of marine organisms feeding, fish chewing coral, sea urchins grazing on algae, amphipods crunching through food, creates a biological chorus that varies by time of day and season. This sound of feeding becomes louder at night in shallow waters when nocturnal organisms become active. and it likely continues in the deep ocean, though scientific documentation remains limited. As you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine the acoustic world of the deep ocean. Whale songs echoing across basins, tectonic plates rumbling in slow collision, marine snow settling with subtle whispers, volcanic vents roaring with turbulent fluid flow, creatures navigating through darkness, using sound to map their environment. The ocean depths are not silent, but filled with acoustic information. A soundscape as rich and complex as any terrestrial environment, revealing a world that operates through hearing rather than seeing, where sound becomes the primary sense for survival in eternal darkness. Exploring the impossible, human journeys to Earth's deepest places. Contemplate now the extraordinary human achievements that have allowed us to explore the Hadal Zone, the technological marvels that can withstand crushing pressure, the courage and curiosity that drives explorers to Earth's most extreme environments, and the scientific discoveries that reward these dangerous journeys to the bottom of the world. In 1960, Swiss engineer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh descended to the bottom of Challenger Deep aboard the bathyscaphe Trieste, reaching a depth of approximately 35,797 feet, the first humans ever to visit Earth's deepest point. The journey took nearly 5 hours to descend and 3 hours to return to the surface, and during their brief time on the bottom, they observed a flatfish and shrimp-like creatures, proving that life exists even at the greatest depths. The Trieste's design was elegantly simple but effective. Its pressure sphere, made of forged steel nearly 5 inches thick and only 6 feet in diameter, provided just enough room for 2 people sitting cramped in darkness, except for a small porthole. Gasoline, which is less dense than water and incompressible, filled large tanks above the sphere, providing buoyancy for the descent and ascent. Iron ballast was released to begin ascending, demonstrating that sometimes the simplest solutions work best, even for the most extreme challenges. For over 50 years, no human returned to Challenger Deep. The expense, danger, and technical challenges of Hadal exploration meant that the deepest places on Earth remained almost completely unexplored, visited by only 2 people for only 20 minutes in over half a century, making the deep ocean trenches more exclusive than space, which hundreds of people have visited. In 2012, filmmaker James Cameron made a solo dive to Challenger Deep in the submersible Deep Sea Challenger, spending several hours on the bottom, conducting scientific observations and collecting samples. Cameron's dive demonstrated that modern technology could safely transport humans to extreme depths, while providing enough time and capability to conduct meaningful research rather than simply surviving the journey. The submersibles capable of reaching Hadal depths must withstand pressure approaching 16,000 pounds per square inch, a crushing force that would compress a hollow steel sphere into a small ball of crumpled metal. The solution involves using spherical pressure hulls made of specialized materials like titanium or syntactic foam that can resist compression while remaining light enough to be maneuvered and still float. Remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, have explored trenches more extensively than human-occupied submersibles, precisely because they can be lost without tragic consequences if something goes wrong. These robotic explorers, connected to surface ships by tether or operating independently with pre-programmed missions, have photographed, filmed, and sampled trench environments throughout the world's oceans. The Chinese submersible Fenduze, Striver, completed multiple dives to depths exceeding 35,000 feet in the Mariana Trench in 2020, demonstrating that more nations are developing capabilities for hadal exploration. These missions collected biological samples, conducted acoustic experiments, and demonstrated that human exploration of the deepest ocean is becoming more routine and accessible. The technical challenges of hadal exploration extend beyond pressure resistance. Electronic systems must function reliably under conditions where pressure can cause components to behave unpredictably. Batteries must provide power throughout missions lasting many hours. Communication with the surface becomes difficult at great depths. Navigation requires sophisticated acoustic systems, since GPS and radio signals don't penetrate seawater. Sampling equipment designed for hadal depths must operate under pressure that would crush most mechanical devices. Syringes used to collect water samples have thick walls to resist compression. Bottles for capturing organisms close with seals that maintain internal pressure as the sample ascends, preventing organisms adapted to high pressure from being killed by the pressure drop during ascent. The few humans who have visited hadal depths report an overwhelming sense of isolation and awe. Descending through miles of darkness, watching the depth gauge steadily increase while pressure hull creaking sounds remind you of the crushing force just inches away. Then reaching the bottom to find that life persists even here. These experiences profoundly affect those rare individuals who have made the journey. Future hadal exploration will likely rely increasingly on autonomous vehicles equipped with artificial intelligence, capable of making decisions about where to explore, what to sample, and how to respond to unexpected situations. These robotic explorers could spend weeks or months in trenches, conducting continuous observations impossible for human-occupied vehicles that must return to the surface for crew safety and resupply. The science conducted during hadal expeditions yields insights unavailable through any other means. Direct observation reveals organism behaviors that cannot be inferred from specimens brought to the surface. In situ measurements of temperature, pressure, and chemistry provide environmental data essential for understanding hadal ecosystems. Samples of sediment, rock, and water contain information about geological processes, microbial communities, and the history of Earth's oceans recorded in trench deposits. Some scientists propose establishing permanent observatories on trench floors, remotely powered stations that would continuously monitor seismic activity, ocean chemistry, biological communities, and other parameters over years or decades. Such observatories would transform our understanding of hadal environments from snapshots captured during brief visits to continuous records revealing how these ecosystems function and change over time. As you rest peacefully tonight, far from the crushing depths of ocean trenches, appreciate the courage and ingenuity of the few individuals who have descended to Earth's deepest places, risking their lives to expand human knowledge, driven by curiosity about what exists at the limits of our planet's geography. Their journeys reveal that human imagination and engineering can overcome even the most extreme challenges when motivated by the desire to explore, discover, and understand the remarkable world we inhabit. The deep connection. What trenches teach us about our world. Rest now in contemplation of what ocean trenches reveal about Earth as an integrated system, how these deepest places connect to surface processes, climate, the origin of life, and even the search for life on other worlds, demonstrating that no part of Earth exists in isolation, but rather participates in the complex, interconnected dynamics of our planet. Ocean trenches play a crucial but often overlooked role in Earth's carbon cycle. The movement of carbon between atmosphere, ocean, and rock that regulates long-term climate. When organic matter settles into trenches and becomes buried in sediments, it removes carbon from the active carbon cycle, sequestering it in deep ocean deposits where it may remain for millions of years. The subduction of these carbon-rich sediments transports carbon into Earth's mantle, eventually returning some of it to the atmosphere through volcanic outgassing, completing a carbon cycle that operates over millions of years and helps stabilize Earth's climate. The water carried into the mantle by subducting plates, trapped in sediments and within the crystal structure of minerals, influences mantle chemistry and contributes to the generation of magma that feeds volcanic arcs. This water cycle extending into Earth's interior demonstrates that the planet's surface and interior remain connected through ongoing exchanges of material and energy, facilitated by plate tectonic processes operating at trenches. Recent research suggests that life may have originated in deep ocean environments similar to modern trenches. Hydrothermal vents and alkaline seeps in the deep ocean provide energy and chemical gradients that some scientists believe could have powered the first self-replicating molecules. The high pressure in deep ocean environments may have stabilized complex organic molecules and membrane structures, facilitating the origin of cellular life in protected environments, isolated from the asteroid impacts and intense ultraviolet radiation that characterized Earth's early surface. Studying life in ocean trenches provides insights relevant to the search for life on ocean worlds in our solar system. Europa's subsurface ocean likely experiences high pressure at depth, similar to Earth's trenches. If life exists in Europa's ocean, it might resemble hadal organisms adapted to high pressure, darkness, and chemosynthetic food chains. Understanding how Earth's hadal ecosystems function helps scientists design missions and instruments to search for similar life elsewhere in the solar system. The geological activity at trenches influences earthquakes and tsunamis that can affect millions of people living near coastlines. Understanding subduction zone processes helps scientists better predict when and where major earthquakes might occur, improving early warning systems and hazard preparedness. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, which killed over 200,000 people, originated at the subduction zone off Sumatra. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan occurred where the Pacific Plate subducts beneath North America. These devastating events remind us that the deep geological processes operating at trenches directly impact human civilization. Trenches also provide information about Earth's history, preserved in sediment layers accumulating on their floors. These sediments contain microfossils, chemical signatures of past ocean conditions, and volcanic ash layers that allow scientists to reconstruct past climate changes, ocean circulation patterns, and volcanic activity. The sediment record in trenches extends millions of years into the past, preserving evidence of environmental changes that shaped Earth's evolution. The discovery of microplastics, even in the deepest trenches, reveals that human impacts extend to the most remote environments on Earth. No part of the ocean remains pristine and unaffected by human activity. This sobering realization emphasizes the need for better stewardship of ocean environments and reduction of pollution that has spread throughout the entire marine ecosystem. Mineral resources in and around trenches may become economically important in the future. Manganese nodules, polymetallic crusts, and hydrothermal vent deposits contain valuable metals, including copper, zinc, gold, and rare earth elements. While deep-sea mining remains controversial due to potential environmental impacts, trenches and their surrounding areas represent potential sources of minerals as land-based resources become depleted. The extreme conditions in trenches also inspire biotechnology applications. Enzymes from piezophilic microorganisms that function under high pressure may find uses in industrial processes operating under pressure. Heat-stable proteins from deep-sea organisms might improve products requiring thermal stability. Understanding how hadal organisms protect their proteins and membranes from pressure could inform drug design and preservation technologies. The continuing exploration of ocean trenches reminds us how much remains unknown about our own planet. Despite centuries of ocean exploration, the hadal zone remains largely unmapped and unexplored. Millions of species likely await discovery in trench environments. New geological features and processes continue to be revealed. The deep ocean represents one of the last true frontiers on Earth, challenging human ingenuity and courage while rewarding exploration with discoveries that transform our understanding of biology, geology, and planetary science. As you drift peacefully towards sleep tonight, rest in the knowledge that beneath the ocean's surface, the deepest trenches continue their patient work of recycling Earth's crust, providing habitat for remarkable organisms, preserving records of planetary history, and demonstrating that our world remains full of mystery and wonder, even in this age of global satellite coverage and instant communication. The trenches remind us that Earth still harbors unexplored frontiers, that nature continues to surprise us with its resilience and creativity, and that the desire to explore and understand our planet remains as vital and compelling as ever. Sleep well, knowing that the deepest places on Earth exist not as dead zones, but as living, dynamic environments where geology and biology interact in extreme conditions, where discovery awaits future explorers, and where the interconnected nature of our planet reveals itself most clearly. From the crushing depths of trenches to the surface waters where you may swim, from the volcanic arcs built by subduction to the atmosphere stabilized by carbon cycling through trenches, all parts of one integrated system we call home. Sweet dreams from the surface, where pressure is gentle and light abundant, while far below in eternal darkness under crushing pressure, life persists in Earth's final frontier, reminding us that wherever conditions permit even the smallest possibility of survival, biology will find a way to not just endure, but thrive, creating ecosystems of surprising diversity and complexity in places that seem impossible for life to exist at all.